Now I'm ready. Hi, my name is Becca Starr and I made an album called Speak No Evil. And welcome to this little video that's going to give you a little bit of the backstory behind the making of the record. The album has been out for about a month and it has been very well received. So I started producing beats around 2015. At the end of 2015 I joined the synthwave mega force that is the band Damage. So I ended up kind of just producing beats for fun mostly, and the first release that I did that I fully self-produced was released in 2018 with Weedy. It's called The Logical. You can check it out on Bandcamp. At that time I was working on my own solo material and also writing for the Damage, so it was quite a busy time, but pulling a whole album's worth of music that I had produced with Danny in 2018 really spurred me on. And I think that shortly after that I started producing tracks that would end up being on Speak No Evil a couple of months later at the end of 2018. I wrapped up the album around November 2019. The final track that I recorded for it was the hidden track, No Metaphors. I can't lie, I was going through it making this album. I was not in a very balanced place. I was heartbroken as well, so it was a pretty nasty concoction, but it made some amazing tunes that were very therapeutic to make. The thing is, when I'm really suffering, I find it very hard to speak literally about what's going on. I find it much easier to come up with concepts and things like that, and try and find more creative ways to write and describe what is happening internally. Making this album, I was going through a massive transitional period in my life and I love it. I came out of the other side of that really intimidating transitional period stronger, more focused and less likely to take shit. So I think it was necessary. Sometimes in order to grow you gotta go through some pretty horrendous shit, guys. It's just the way it is. The title Speak No Evil literally was like a mantra I was trying to hold on to, because I've got a really bad habit of speaking really poorly about myself. So the title is literally "Don't speak poorly of yourself to yourself" is essentially what it translates to. You have to forgive me for the next bit because I do actually have notes, because it's a lot. There was a lot of thought that went into writing it, and within the first couple of tracks I was kind of fully aware that there were characters emerging that I was using in writing certain parts of my personality to express certain emotions and stuff, and I myself felt quite fractured and I was suffering pretty intensely at that time. So yeah man, I feel like it was a sort of natural, healthy breaking up of my own psyche for me to analyse, which I did, you'll see, I've got notes here, hold on. So yeah man, these are all the notes that I wrote back in 2019. So let's get into it. So yeah, essentially I would describe the characters, you could either call them characters or elements, are essentially the condensed characters that have voices throughout the album. Each element has its own tone and delivery. Lyrically, the elements dictate the choice of words and expression. Some are more obvious than others. The only track on the album that was consciously written with all 5 elements talking is First Step. So here we have it. The elements. So the first element, it was split into 5 parts. The first part being ego. If ego was talking right now, ego would say, "I'm right, I'm in charge, I know best, look at me." I do have that about me. I can't, I think as a performer, you have to make peace with the fact that you like to be looked at sometimes. The second element is fear, which was probably the most dominant character in my life, or in control of my personality for a spell. And if fear could talk right now, it would say, I'm wrong, I'm out of control, I have no idea what's happening, don't look at me. I think that's probably relatable to most of us. The next element is wrath. If wrath could talk, wrath would say, you're wrong, nobody controls me, you're an idiot, fuck off cunt. Like, yeah, just no fucks were given. The next element is child. And if my inner child could talk right now, it would say, can I ask if this is right? Tell me what to do. What does this mean? Want to play pretend we're fucking rap stars? Like, maybe without the F word, but we're not children anymore. And the final element is romantic. And if romantic could talk, would say, we're all right in our own way. Whatever you'd like to do, count me in. You know what's best for me. I want to look at you, but look at me. I kind of feel like the ego and romantic in my world are somewhat related. So the artwork for the album was done by Shona Skylar, who's an incredible artist who's done a lot of work for a lot of amazing independent artists in Scotland. I wanted her to do as much of my artwork, if not all of it, as I could, and thankfully she did. She did all of the artwork except for the artwork for Tides, which was the final release, and me and my dad actually pulled that artwork together, so that was really fun and nice to sort of have a final hand in something myself that was a medium that I hadn't had the confidence to try before then. Shona sent a few variations of artwork to choose from, and the Sugar Skull jumped out to me because it sort of is split into 5 pieces. And if you've ever seen the First Step music video, then you'll notice that like at certain points in the video, like pieces of the Sugar Skull like glow on my face, and that's kind of symbolic of who's talking. So I have a breakdown of that as well, of how the mask is broken into pieces. So I'll probably just put some pictures up here and show you a little bit about the pieces. So kind of like the idea with Speak No Evil of it being open to interpretation, but just for fun I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what each song on the album means to me. A translation. Yeah, the intro is probably, I guess it's the closest thing to just actually me talking, not the artist, performer, but just me rambling and trying to make sense of myself, for myself and others. The second tune, I Forgot. So I Forgot in a lot of ways to me is very reflective. It's about sort of, for me personally, like I think a lot about my dad when I sing it, and my mum, and just sort of what made you who you are, and you know what I mean, those like early experiences of life and how they can shape your mind to then be reshaped in adulthood. Do you know what I mean? So for me it's that, it's a kind of don't forget the good past stuff, even if it might seem better than where you are in the present. It doesn't mean that there isn't equally amazing stuff ahead of you. There's always good stuff ahead of you, essentially. I Forgot is, yeah. Tides is pretty much a sort of protest tune, really. I hate a lot of the government and, to be honest, religious orders' attitudes towards global warming and climate change, and it's a direct it's very much wrath talking. I'm pissed off, like, we're killing the planet. Like, I have no answers. I'm not a specialist, but I know I'm willing to get down with whatever we can do to try and reverse some of the effects that we are having as a species on the planet. I find us pretty gross, unfortunately, sorry. Fear of death. So fear of death is basically, it's about a sort of fear of the death of yourself, like, but not as in ending your life, as in parts of yourself that you think are integral to your survival. Yeah, it can feel like those optimistic sides can be absent or checked out, and you can panic, like, man, I don't have a balanced dialogue about myself anymore, like, what do I do? So fear of death is really about not so much a death as in a physical death, ending of life, but the fear of death, of like losing parts of yourself that you think you need. I'm still breathing, so it's very much just use our day man not in, stop chatting shite and make some tunes, stop being critical, actually contribute to your community, stop trying to cause petty beefs and talking shit about people and being insensitive. Make good tunes and do good stuff for your community, or fucking shut up and go to bed. I can't be dealing with you anymore. Just fucking that's essentially what that is, man. It's dark up there. It's dark up there is very much just a stream of consciousness. I was grieving, I was depressed, and I was very sad after the loss of a dear friend. You don't see it coming, and in that situation that was very much the case. It was very hard to adjust to the reality that my pal was away, and I was also in a place myself and had been of thinking terrible things and being a danger to myself. So for somebody close to me to then make that decision, what seemed to me out of the blue, was a bit of a reality check in a lot of ways, seeing and feeling how the result of losing a person and being reminded of that, it had been a while for me since I had lost a friend in that manner. So it was really, it's very much written for people to hear and take hope from, but I was also writing it to myself to hear in a lot of ways, and I know that it has positively affected a lot of people. And again, like, to the people that reach out to me to say that anything that I've done creatively has had a positive effect on how you think about yourself, like, I hope that's one of them that does, because it did for me. I'll Carry You. So I'll Carry You is pretty self-explanatory, I think. It's about knowing who you can turn to for support and who's going to be there for you. If you are struggling to speak well of yourself or feel good about yourself, then sometimes you need to reach out, and that it's important to do that. There is a responsibility on yourself as an individual if you're struggling to let people know, and 9 times out of 10 when you do, you're going to find that you're met with empathy and support. And then that other one person out of those 10 that doesn't, you just know you need to get them shifted live-o, because that's bang out. First step. So first step is essentially about if you need to make a change in your life or in yourself or your circumstances, that yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, and the first step will be probably the most challenging, but if you just keep taking one step at a time, you can make massive differences. But it definitely, I think that tune does a good job of also sort of expressing the frustration attached with positive change. It can be very aggravating trying to like be a better person, especially if you feel like you're not making progress, even if it's with other things as well, man, like taking your health more seriously and trying to get fitter. that first month that you're working out, all you're going to do is feel agony and you feel like nothing's going to be changing. But give it a couple of months, man, you'll start to feel like things are easier and notice changes in yourself, and that can be applied to, you know, emotional stuff too. Half of Me featuring Weedy. So Half of Me is basically about getting comfortable with identifying your toxic traits and burying them, like straight up down with the toxicity, like. And in this particular song we depicted it as that half of me needs to go and half of me is good to stay, do you know what I mean? And like, I want to get rid of this half of me that isn't working for me. And yeah, I had so much fun writing that with Danny. I love working with Danny. He's a big part of my musical history, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gets a feature on every album I do, because I just love working with Danny. And then Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil is basically, it's the ballad, and it's about, I wrote it just before I was moving into a new life with my pal Chris at his house, and I was just trying to kind of have a word with myself, you know what I mean, and seeing the importance of myself and the importance of keeping on and not being fearful that I'm gonna fail, but just being hopeful that I might thrive. Like, I think you've got to be balanced in these things, and as much as I myself in the past, on 2 particular occasions in my life, have felt like I can't go on or I'm hopeless, and as much as they are difficult times to go through, you can take a lot of positive from them, and I'm proud of myself that I have, and that I have recovered from not only that situation but other situations that I've experienced in the past year in my life that have pushed me to be a stronger person and be more willful and take control of my life and everything, and I'm quite comfortable with it now. I feel like that I have grown and got happier, and that I am a stronger and more thoughtful person than I've ever been, and I hope that that just continues exponentially as I continue to grow as a human being and as a creative being. I am so proud of this album. I'm so glad it's out in the world. It looks so pretty. Look how pretty. Thank you so much to In Black Records for producing the hard copies. I'm so hype about them. And I hope you guys enjoy the album. I wish I could say I enjoyed making the album. I enjoyed finishing the album. By the time I finished this album, I was in a much more optimistic place and much more in control of what I wanted for myself, and I've done a fairly good job of getting things done, and I'm really proud of this album, and I'm so hyped to make more music. I have been making a lot of music in the past sort of 6 months, and yeah, I'm feeling really good about it. I can't wait to release more music. I've not been writing as metaphorically on this new stuff. I've been writing very literally, which is challenging in a new way to me, to just be very, this is what I think about this, and but I think it's good to try new things, and the band are hype about it. Everything I've been showing the band, they've been loving it. So and they're the kind of folk that would 100% tell me if it was shit. So and I really hope that you're looking forward to hearing it, and I really hope you've enjoyed watching this and finding out a little bit about the album and hopefully a little bit about me. And thank you so much for giving a fuck. I appreciate you so much, and I'm not going anywhere. I love you guys.
Carry you, that's the ringtone.
The ringtone. You're the fucking ringtone.
Like, see if this was like 2001. Carry you
Oh,
would
like
be
a polyphone.
the, yeah, it would be the ringtone. Yeah, that would be like the Kanye West.